Hi folks, welcome to Cybersecurity Awareness TV, episode number 413, recorded December 3rd, 2022. My name is Mac Jackson Jr. I am your cybersecurity consultant and researcher. If this is the first time you've seen our show, I discuss cybersecurity awareness news, interviews, and tips that you can use to protect yourself from the fastest growing crimes of the 21st century, folks, and that is cyber theft and cyber crimes. I would like to thank everyone who's been a part of our show here on WWDBTV and willing to take a look at what we're offering here, folks, and be able to tell people what's going on when it comes to cyber attacks. Folks, you could do your part as well by letting a friend know what you've learned on this show. If you'd like to find out more about me and what I do, you can go to my website at macjacksonjr.com. That's macjacksonjr.com. By the way, my company is called Vanderson Cyber Group as well. You can check out Vanderson Cyber Group as well. Remember, folks, on all social media, remember to share, like, and hit that subscribe button. Keep notice on what's going on in the world of cyber security. We're also on the Patreon channel, folks. So one more thing, go to Patreon channel at patreon.com/MacJacksonJr. Folks, in today's episode, we are going around the world to talk about cyber threats and what's going on in the world of cyber, and it affects you and our infrastructure and our security. In segment 2, we talk about the FBI warnings, what the FBI suggests we stay on the alert for. And of course, as we do every week, in segment 3, we talk about what you could do to protect yourself, weekly cybersecurity tips. In our top story today, folks, cybersecurity news from around the world. In this story, we talk about tips and techniques that countries are doing to mitigate the damage of cybercrimes. On our show, Cybersecurity Awareness TV, we've discussed since October a cyber threat that has affected the school districts, right? Especially with ransomware. There was an incident that happened back in October with the Los Angeles Unified School District that experienced a cyber breach that almost shut down their whole entire school system, and information was being threatened to be divvied out to all the marketeers in the black market. Well, folks, it has happened again, but not in Los Angeles and LA. It has happened in, of all places, New Jersey. That's right, folks. The cybersecurity people in New Jersey now have experienced a cyber attack that affecting the school districts in New Jersey. The schools were shut down. Students were unable to get into the school, and they were still investigating what's going on with this. So this is also the same thing that happened with the LA school district as well. Now we're seeing happen in New Jersey. But first, folks, I have a story I'd like you to take a look at regarding the story from NBC 10 in Philadelphia. Here's the story.
Right now at 5 o'clock, and all news, schools shut down. A school district in South Jersey forced to cancel classes for a third day after an apparent hack attack left it without internet access. Thanks for joining us here at 5 o'clock. I'm Jim Rosenfield.
And I'm Tracy Davidson. The closures in Monroe Township have impacted thousands of students at the district's 6 schools. NBC 10 South Jersey Bureau reporter Sydney Long spent the day talking with parents and working to get answers about this. She joins us live from Williamstown High School. Sid, what have you learned?
Well, Tracy, normally in the afternoon, some of the sports activities would be getting out here at Williamstown High School. As you mentioned, it has been especially quiet at all 6 of the schools, Williamstown High, Williamstown Middle, as well as 4 elementary buildings. And despite numerous calls, texts, and emails to the district superintendent today, the Board of Education and other town administrators were getting very few answers, considering the gravity of what is happening here, this major internet interruption to learning. A.J. Johnson spent the morning playing and doing somersaults with his brother into a giant pile of leaves outside of Oak Knoll Elementary. It's where he's normally in his 3rd grade class, but after a robocall from the district Monday night.
Just saying that there would be an emergency closing and that IT was working on it. It was something that affected the internet.
All kindergarten through 12th grade students have been sidelined from attending school.
3 days it's been now. So we just haven't been really be able to get in the building at all.
Monroe Township Public School Superintendent Susan Fick released a message to district families last night addressing an internet intrusion. It reads in part, quote, based upon the information known to date, MTPS can report that these technical issues were the result of actions by an unauthorized third party. The investigation and restoration remains ongoing, and MTPS will provide more information as soon as it's available. No one was at Williamstown High School today. A sign on the door reads, "All activities are canceled until further notice." We called, emailed, and texted school administrators, and then to our surprise, we found the Board of Education building wide open. The front door was unlocked, but no one was inside. Monroe Township Police tell us they're not involved in the investigation, and we got that same message from the township saying the school is its own entity. A lot of parents are voicing frustration online, leading to speculation about what information may be at stake and possibly compromised. Owen Denton is a senior at the high school. He's pretty upset and confused.
It's really the uncertainty is what's getting me, and it's just really confusing right now.
Especially since it's also shutting down winter sports. He's a varsity basketball captain.
Yeah, missing practice. We can't practice right now in the school or in the gym, so it's been really difficult, especially with our season just starting.
Of course, it's a little frustrating because he is out, so we don't know when it's going to be made up because they only have so many snow days built into the schedule. But other than that, I mean, he's enjoying the day off.
Now, we have also reached out to the county prosecutor's office, the Department of Homeland Security, and the FBI. The FBI telling NBC 10 this afternoon it can't confirm or deny its involvement in this case, but saying that it does take cyber attacks extremely seriously. Now, coming up at 6 o'clock, we'll have a law enforcement source walk us through scenarios that may be happening as a result of this apparent breach, and we'll share more information also. He feels as though the district should be coming out in front, being more transparent, and sharing more information also with its student body and staff. Reporting live in Williamstown tonight, I'm Sydney Long, NBC 10 News.
Sounds like at least that student would like a lot more information along with parents. Sid, thanks.
Pretty amazing, folks. We need to always stay cyber woke and cyber woke what's going on for these types of cyber attacks. But first, folks, here's our breaking news. As we continue the story relating to Twitter and Elon Musk's takeover, Elon Musk demanded of his employees to ship up or ship out of the company, and it's caused a lot of employees there to say, you know what, we're just going to resign. So this week, over 38 more engineers, programmers resigned from the company voluntarily because they can't work under the auspice of their new boss, Elon Musk. However, folks, after the new takeover by Elon Musk, getting rid of about half the staff, they are now having to rehire some of these people back. And it's really interesting because there's new people that are coming and not sure how the company works or operates. Again, folks, putting my opinion on this, folks, it goes back to business continuity, having a plan, a what-if policy. And Twitter is definitely going through that right now. Definitely take a look at some things that are going on with Twitter. Stay tuned at this space, and we'll continue to give you information what's going on there with Twitter. We hope Twitter will still be here in the future, right? Because of all the new changes. We hope this is definitely something that Elon Musk has planned. That's good for Twitter. That's great. But we hope these employees will be able to find jobs as well. Our next story, folks, will take us to businesses using cybersecurity insurance policies. Now, what a cybersecurity insurance policy is a policy that's different than your regular general insurance policy or E&O policy with your company. This policy protects your business from the mitigation of cyber threats and instances, folks, that happen. Now, insurance companies were jumping on the bandwagon offering these policies a few years ago, and a lot of them, as I understand, the rates have been pretty high. Well, some of these policies now are being given a second look by the insurance companies, thinking if this is something they really want to get involved with because of the overwhelming claims with these types of attacks. So the U.S. now is being threatened by these types of cyber attacks, and businesses are being threatened as well. And should they have cyber liability insurance or should they not? And will it cost too much? For example, Microsoft, again, was hacked by another cyber attack that they needed cyber liability insurance as well, consisting of their mail service, their email service. Folks, I have a story to show you here of this growing threat coming to you from the Wall Street Journal. Check out this video, folks.
This is your tech news briefing for Wednesday, November 30th. I'm Zoe Thomas for the Wall Street Journal. Over the last couple of years, insurance firms have slowly been gathering a clearer picture of what cyber attacks cost their clients. A few major incidents, like the NotPetya virus that invaded corporate software in 2017, or the attack on the Colonial Pipeline last year, have shown just how big the fallout from cyber attacks can be. But there still hasn't been a truly catastrophic cyber attack. So, how is the cyber insurance industry preparing for one? Joining us to discuss that is WSJ Pro cybersecurity reporter James Rundle. Hi, James. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Zoe. Thanks for having me.
So, James, since 2020, we've seen this big pickup in the number of claims for cyber attacks. How have insurance companies been adjusting their policies to deal with this?
Yeah, particularly from 2020, there was a huge uptick in claims, basically from cyber attacks of all stripes, whether that's ransomware or other forms. And it really knocked the insurance industry back a little bit, I think. A lot of insurers got into cyber thinking it was a really lucrative source of revenue. But then as the claims started to pile up, they started to look at it and realize that actually we're not being as disciplined with our underwriting as maybe we should be. So in reaction to that, premiums went up across the board by a significant amount. And insurers really started asking more of the people who wanted to be policyholders. They wanted to know exactly what kind of cyber defenses they had in place and what level of protections they were putting to secure their systems in. And they were refusing cover for people who didn't have it.
Okay, so higher standards for the people who are purchasing these cyber insurance policies. But how do insurers determine, what the payout should be when there is a cyber attack?
Well, it depends on the level of coverage you buy. I mean, cyber insurance generally covers a number of areas. So you'll have your initial incident response where you might have to hire a cybersecurity company to come in and find out what happened. You have the legal counsel you need to retain in order to meet any regulatory obligations. You have communications for crisis scenarios and everything else. So there is a whole battery of costs that were involved in that. Depending on the size of the organization, of course, those costs will increase or decrease accordingly.
So even with the growing number of policies out there and with the growing number of payouts that insurers have had to make, there's still this concern that they're not prepared for a catastrophic cyber attack. Can you, start by sort of telling us what a catastrophic cyber attack would actually mean? How does that compare to other cyber attacks? Because I'm sure some companies would feel it's pretty catastrophic when they've been hit.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to stress that we don't actually know because we haven't had one yet. When we talk about catastrophic hacks, we're not talking about a single company being taken down or a cyber attack that causes, several $1 million in damage, which is, pretty catastrophic for those involved. But what we're talking about here is something that really affects the economy or affects the stability of society. So we're the collapse of the financial system, for instance, or exchanges being taken down, clearing houses, things that are vital to the running of the country that if they were to stop working, the country would effectively stop working as well, which is why it's one of those things that people hope doesn't happen, but they're worried will eventually.
I mean, can you give us an example of what one of those companies is? Because we have seen fallout from, a cyber attack on one company affect other companies.
We have. One of the scenarios that the people I spoke to for my article are working on is what happens if one of the major cloud providers gets taken down. So you're talking like an Amazon here or a Google or a Microsoft or someone like that. Because these people don't just power one company in a specific industry where there would be some downstream effects. They power huge amounts of companies across huge numbers of critical infrastructure sectors, whether that's finance, retail, logistics, healthcare, that if they were to go down, it would have severe repercussions across a range of areas.
So given that we haven't had one of these catastrophic cyber attacks, how do insurers make models of what they might be dealing with in that scenario?
Well, that's the big question. It's what they're struggling with right now. The problem with cybersecurity as an area to insure is something called the contagion effect, which is what we've been alluding to, where the impact of an attack on one company can have far-reaching consequences among many, many others. And it takes an incredible degree of complex mathematics to be able to even attempt to model how that would happen. And the fact of the matter is you just don't know. You don't know how one company being taken down will affect another, which in turn will affect another, which in turn will affect another. It's extraordinarily difficult to try and figure out exactly what would happen if the Bank of England were to be taken down or the London Stock Exchange or the New York Stock Exchange simultaneously or something like that.
I mean, how much harder is that to model than, say, like a Category 5 hurricane, where you might have a lot of fallout and one thing could affect another, could take out homes and power grids? I mean, they do have some precedent, right?
Well, that's the thing. We have had Category 5 hurricanes before, and we've had natural disasters before on epic scales that we have the data where we can look at that and say, okay, well, historically, this is what happened, and we can use that to extrapolate what would happen now in our more connected society and everything else. The issue with cybersecurity is that we simply don't have that information. We only have relatively small scale events that we can use to guess what would happen on a larger scale, but the truth is we just don't know.
We were talking about this ripple effect where, one company faces a cyber attack and it affects all these other downstream companies. But are insurers thinking about what the impact on them might be? I mean, how do they prepare for the potential risk to their business if this happens?
For sure. That's the big existential question, really, is if one of these were to happen, would it be so large as to actually take down the carriers themselves? Would they not be able to cover their obligations and the claims in this instance, or the reinsurers who insure the insurers? What would they be on the hook for as well? And so we started to see some moves towards an element of risk management in this area. Lloyd's of London, which is not an insurer but is a significant marketplace for insurers, recently directed its syndicates to adopt language that would exclude state-backed catastrophic attacks from their insurance policies because, as we said, the risk is so great they simply don't know how the industry would cope. It would be a systemic event, not just for society, but for the insurance industry as well. We're also starting to see, from my reporting, people were telling me that some insurers are excluding specific cloud providers from their coverage, saying, if something goes wrong, we'll only cover up to a certain amount of damages, or we will not cover if this happens. So they are starting to look at this and think, okay, well, we need to put some limits in place. We need to put some exclusions in place to make sure that we're protected as well and that we can provide the services that we're offering.
All right, that's our reporter, James Rundle. James, thanks so much for explaining this for us.
Thanks, Zoe.
And that's it for today's Tech News Briefing. For more tech stories, check out our website, WSJ.com. I'm Zoe Thomas for the Wall Street Journal. Thanks for listening.
Folks, our next story takes us to Washington, D.C., where Representative Frank Mavin of Illinois spoke to Congress regarding the hardening of the VA data security system. This act by Congress we'll be voting on soon here is called the VA Cybersecurity Act of 2022. In summary, H.R. 7299 will require Department of Veterans Affairs agencies to contract with an independent entity to conduct cybersecurity evaluations of the department's information technology. Under the bill, contractors would assess cyber vulnerability in 5 information systems chosen by the department. And folks, it's full disclosure, my company, Vanderson Cyber Group, we are a subcontractor for the Department of Defense and Department of Energy. And this particular bill is definitely something that we are looking forward to in providing cybersecurity hygiene for contractors and for governmental agencies in protecting our infrastructure. So I am glad to see this is happening, and it's something that we're definitely looking forward to, folks, in protecting our data. Here's a story I'd like to share with you from Forbes News.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Indiana seek recognition?
Madam Speaker, I ask unanimous consent to address the House for 1 minute.
Without objection.
Madam Speaker, I rise today in support of the Strengthening the VA Cybersecurity Act legislation I introduced to support and protect our selfless veterans. The VA is the largest integrated healthcare network in the United States, and it stores millions of records with personal information for veterans and their families. This legislation will require the VA to obtain an independent cybersecurity assessment of its most critical information systems and develop a timeline and budget to fix any identified weaknesses and deficiencies. We must continue to work to ensure that the VA has the tools it needs to effectively protect against new and emerging cybersecurity threats and safeguard our veterans' information. I look forward to continuing to collaborate with all of my colleagues to move in this common sense and bipartisan legislation forward. Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I yield back my time.
Welcome back, folks. So if you are thinking about your business and you want to find out a way to monitor your KPI, right? Your KPI in your business, right? The key performance indicators, well, we want to change that name. When I think of your key performance indicators of your business, you should think about cybersecurity. Our new thing we're doing for 2023 is to think of your key performance indicators as keep people interested, keep people informed, keep people involved, and keep people inspired. That is equal to cybersecurity awareness, folks. That's the awareness of the cyber threats that can affect your company, your business, and your family. The holiday seasons are upon us, folks, and they are reporting, they meaning the retailers and merchants are reporting that the numbers are actually doubled from last year, which is a great thing. People are starting to spend more money and getting more involved after the pandemic. But folks, hackers are definitely on their P's and Q's as well, looking for any sorts of vulnerabilities. Be careful when you're out there shopping online and make sure you vet all websites before you hand over your credit or debit card to them to make your purchase online here, folks. We want you all to stay safe this holiday season. We'll be back, folks, with Cybersecurity Awareness TV after these messages. Hello, folks. This is Mac Jackson Jr. from Vanderson Cyber Group. The problem with businesses today is that they are affected by cyber attacks from around the world, but companies are not sure of what to do. Normally, they are reactive instead of proactive. But folks, cyber attacks can affect your bottom line, and it will affect you financially, legally, and your business reputation. Here at Vanderson Cyber Group, we can help you develop a policy by training your employees on what to do if they are involved in a cyber attack and how to mitigate it and fight against it. Folks, we call it here #StayCyberWoke. And that's Vanderson Cyber Group here in Las Vegas and around the world. You can reach me, folks, at VandersonCyberGroup.com or my website, MacJacksonJr.com as well. Here locally, 702-868-0808. Give us a call today, folks. We must fight back. Hi folks, welcome back to Cybersecurity Awareness TV. I'm your host, Mac Jackson Jr. In this segment, we are talking about the FBI warnings for businesses and individuals on scammers, and hackers. In this story, we will show and discuss the newest scams the FBI are warning the U.S. regarding TikTok users, folks. Here we go again, folks, with this TikTok. The TikTok apps, you may notice yourself or your kids enthralled in this multi-million user-based application that people are using, these short videos symbolizing dances or information for entertainment purposes, let's say, right, using TikTok. However, it has been determined that TikTok can be an app that's used by the Chinese government to spy on U.S. citizens. Yes, folks, and it's just not myself just saying this. We've been talking about this here on our show for months regarding this, and I have a story to show you regarding this fact that TikTok now is being investigated as being one of these types of apps that you need to tell your children and your people and your friends, family you know about to be very cautious when you're using this app, TikTok. Our story begins from CBS News out of Los Angeles.
Developing tonight, FBI Director Chris Wray is raising national security concerns about TikTok. He says the video sharing app is controlled by a Chinese government that, quote, doesn't share our values.
The FBI is concerned about the Chinese government's ability to control a specific algorithm and that the app could collect data on users that could be used for espionage. A TikTok spokesperson, though, says that it is, quote, on a path to fully satisfy all reasonable U.S. national security concerns.
Folks, our story continues with the FBI Director Wray speaking to the Homeland Security Committee of Congress regarding TikTok as a spy application used to spy on U.S. citizens. Folks, this is really intriguing. I recommend everybody listen to this and tell your friends when it comes to using this app. If you want to take it off your computers, your phones, could be a good idea. Here's a story. It continues from Forbes magazine.
Chair recognizes young lady from Tennessee, Ms. Harshbarger, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I thank the witnesses for being here today. I'm going to read a statement. This is for all the witnesses. Late last month, Forbes and other press reported that TikTok's parent company, ByteDance, planned to use TikTok to monitor the physical location of specific Americans for the purposes of surveilling individual U.S. citizens. And as you know, TikTok is close to signing a CFIUS contract, and the Treasury Department's been assessing the national security risk of the foreign ownership of TikTok, including its CCP ties, and whether the platform enables the Chinese government to access U.S. persons' data. The first question is a yes or no. It's, do you assess that TikTok is a significant national security threat given the accusations that the company specifically targets U.S. persons, and given the ByteDance and TikTok ties to the CCP? And the second part of that question is yes or no. Is the CCP leveraging the application as a tool to collect information about U.S. citizens for purposes other than targeted ads and content? Anyone on the panel?
Congresswoman, taking the first question, I would say we do have national security concerns, at least from the FBI's end, about TikTok. They include the possibility that the Chinese government could use it to control data collection on millions of users, or control the recommendation algorithm, which could be used for influence operations if they so chose, or to control software on millions of devices, which gives that opportunity to potentially technically compromise personal devices. So there's a number of concerns there. As to what is actually happening and actually being done, that's probably something that would be better addressed in a closed classified setting, and I could see what information we might be able to share that way, but that's probably not much more than I could add to that, other than to say it is certainly something that's on our radar, and we share your concerns.
Yes, thank you for that, and I'd love to have that closed briefing. Has ByteDance responded to allegations that their internal auditing system specifically targeted any members of the U.S. government, activists, public figures, or journalists, yes or no?
I'll have to see if we can get back to you on that. I'm not sure that I can give the answer right here at this moment.
Okay. Are you informing the Treasury's view through the CFIUS process of the national security threat it poses?
I'm sorry, ma'am.
Sir?
Could you repeat the question? I just couldn't hear you very well.
Are you informing Treasury's view through the CFIUS process of the national security threat it poses to the United States?
Yes, the FBI's Foreign Investment Unit, working through the Department of Justice, is part of the CFIUS process and would be relevant. Our input would be taken into account in any agreements that might be made to address the issue.
Okay, the last part of that question is, what is currently being done to investigate the CCP's involvement in TikTok ownership, direction, and or access? And the reason I asked that is there was a current 60-minute segment highlighting the stark differences between the Chinese-owned TikTok company that allows kids in China to view a totally different app, a clean app, and what is shown in the U.S., they call it an opium version, that is designed to hook American children on an unsafe version of the video-based platform, and offering a healthier version and a limited viewing of 40 minutes for those children in China, which is unacceptable, and parents need to know this. But what's currently being done to investigate the CCP's involvement in TikTok?
Well, as to any specific investigative work, I could see whether some of that could be incorporated into the classified briefing I referred to. There's obviously limits on what I can share in terms of discussing a specific ongoing investigation. But what I would say is that you've highlighted two very, very important threats. One, of course, something we're all concerned about, which is the threat to our youth online. But the second is the threat specifically from the Chinese government and the Chinese Communist Party, and the ways in which their laws are used as an aggressive weapon against companies, both U.S. companies and Chinese companies. Under Chinese law, Chinese companies are required to essentially, and I'm going to shorthand here, basically do whatever the Chinese government wants them to in terms of sharing information or serving as a tool of the Chinese government. And so that's plenty of reason by itself to be extremely concerned.
Absolutely. Well, I look forward to the classified briefing, and I appreciate your time. And with that, Chairman, I yield back.
The gentlewoman yields back. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from California, Mr. Swalwell.
Folks, as a cybersecurity consultant, we provide business security policies and procedures to help protect your business from these ongoing cyber threats. And like we said before, folks, our best education is the training of your staff and of your family. That's right, members of your family, to understand their responsibility and the types of threats that are out there that are trying to victimize and exploit your information. We must continue these efforts, folks, to hashtag stay cyber woke, folks. Stay cyber woke. We'll be back after these messages.
Hi, I'm Judy Morio. I invite you to watch my show, What's Your Story with Judy Morio on WWDBTV, where I interview celebrities, doctors, authors, professional speakers, and just plain folks like you and me. So watch my show and also watch some of the other great shows that we have here on WWDBTV, and you can also find us on Roku.
Hi folks, welcome back to Cybersecurity Awareness TV. I'm your host, Mac Jackson Jr. In this segment, we talk about our weekly tips. And again, for weeks, we've always stressed the first tip is always your password. Make sure you have maintained it and protect it and change it regularly. Don't use a password, use a passphrase. You've heard that from my show all the time. But folks, I also want to put out an alert as well to be very, very careful of phone calls that you will get from tech support. Tech support, you may say. Tech support from who? Tech support can come from any location, anything, from any entity that you're involved with. For example, it could come from your work. You're at home on your laptop and you get a tech support call coming in from your organization stating that there's an update on your machine that you need to be able to do on your laptop or your desktop or your smartphone. They state your name, they state the company you work for, the department you work in, and they're stating they're from tech support. Now, this type of scam has happened to thousands of people. They're believing so that the person on the phone that they're talking to is from their organization. Or it could be from the manufacturer of your laptop, the manufacturer of the software program that you are using, stating their tech support. Now, they also may have some additional information to help persuade you that they are who they say they are. They may have your employee ID, the company you work with, the floor that you work on, right? Your address, bits and pieces of information they have stolen on the darknet to persuade you that they are who they say they are. But folks, like we always say, vet these sources out. Tell them, you know what, let me call you back. I'll talk to my supervisor to make sure this is legitimate. Do not, folks, handle these support calls, because what's happening is they will get you to go to a website, you follow them, and they can take over your computer. So that's the tip we have for you this week, folks. I'd like to remind everyone to make sure that they turn off their Wi-Fi on their cell phones. If you are not utilizing a cell phone Wi-Fi from your home or your office where it's safe, do not have your cell phone option turned on your phone while you're traveling. Okay? To find out more about that, you can definitely contact me or look at one of my previous videos. We've talked about reasons why you should have your cell phone Wi-Fi turned off. These are just some of the tips we have here on Cybersecurity Awareness TV, but I would like to ask all of you, go to my website at macjacksongr.com. That's macjacksongr.com. Leave me an email, leave me a message. If you'd like to sponsor our show, please do as well, and we'll give you a shout out on our show here at Cybersecurity Awareness TV and put you on our social media as well, folks. These are just some small things that we can do to protect ourselves. And the final thing, folks, remember, tell a friend. Any information that you found in this show could be helpful to you. Share it with your friends and family. The more we know, the more we can protect ourselves from these types of cyber threats. Until next week, folks, this is Mac Jackson from Cybersecurity Awareness TV. Stay safe.